A big thank you to Dan and Matt for joining us today on such a wonderful, wonderful topic. So without further ado, gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Dan, I'd like to hear your thoughts on techniques for, as this person stated, opening the mind of leaders of a traditional and old-fashioned environment to what emotional intelligence is and how it can impact the organization in ways that they value on a large scale.
I would answer it this way. I've been in that position many times, and it's one reason that in my writing and in my talks, particularly at companies, I emphasize the brain basis of this model, the neuroscience behind it. And I also have made a point of publishing in places like the Harvard Business Review, because neuroscience and HBR, frankly, are credible sources for traditional leaders. And I found that approaching emotional intelligence that way is more, opens those minds more.
And Dan, I want you to weigh in on this. An additional perspective on that I look at from having a background of worked at and with a number of large corporations is going to transition to the second question where it talks about, it says words like learning and emotional tend to get blank looks. And I agree with that statement. And I think one approach that we can start to use is to look at the words that your audience inside your organization already works with, that they value. And maybe it's something like performance, or maybe it's an organization where career trajectory or individual success are more highly valued. I feel that those are safe starting points for getting into the conversation about emotional intelligence. But that doesn't mean we have to give people education on the terminology or even mention the word emotional. We can meet people where they are in terms of the concepts and the beliefs and values that they have. We can help them focus on something as simple as how much more beneficial it would be for them as an individual or their team if people were more supportive of them or more willing to help them be effective in their day-to-day workplace environment. And so sharing case studies and examples about how successful leaders have cultivated EI in their teams is a great way to, for lack of a better term, just get people's minds more open to what EI is. But from my standpoint, I think there's no need to talk about using the words emotion necessarily, but go back to effectiveness and neuroscience, for example.
I remember when I wrote Emotional Intelligence and started talking in companies, I was told, you can't use the word emotion in business. And I think that landscape has changed. But as you say, Matt, every company has its own culture. Every organization is its own culture. And one of the three kinds of empathy is cognitive empathy, understanding the mindset, the perspective, the ways the person you're dealing with organizes reality. People have different mental models. Companies have different mental models. And I think it's really more effective if someone bringing training or development into a company does just what you said, Matt, which is to listen, to understand how the folks you're dealing with understand what you're talking about and to use their language. Highly effective.